Hi, my name is Lexi. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm talking about OMAD versus ADF. All right, so today I just wanted to kind of compare and contrast OMAD, or 1 meal a day, versus ADF, or alternate day fasting, because I know that a lot of people probably have heard a lot about those two protocols. Perhaps you're doing a daily window and you're ready to sort of take it to the next level, or you feel like you need something a little bit more, and so you're interested in doing OMAD or alternate day fasting, but you're a little bit intimidated by them, or you just maybe need a little more information. So I just wanted to talk about them. And I do, I guess, have sort of a bias, you could say, because I do typically do alternate day fasting. So there is kind of a bias there, but I'm gonna try to be unbiased and just to give the information, because I can see the appeal of OMAD, and I also see the benefits in contrast to ADF. And I also know that a lot of people prefer OMAD over ADF. So if you're someone who is one of those people who prefers OMAD over alternate day fasting, or you just prefer to do it more often than not, feel free to leave a comment and tell us why you like it better. And on the other hand, if you prefer alternate day fasting, why you prefer that. So let's get into it. Okay, so we'll start with OMAD, or 1 meal a day. And I think what I want to start with is just that a lot of people don't realize that there's kind of two ways to do OMAD. The first is what I think most people think of when they think of OMAD, which is one meal just in one sitting, basically one plate a day, or maybe you would get like seconds, but just basically you're eating in one sitting. You get your plate of food, you eat it, and you move on, and that's it. So that would be a very, very short eating window. Could even be like 15 minutes to, an hour, depending on how slowly you eat. So there's that way. And then there's also the OMAD where it's more like 1 to 5 hours, and you're sort of spreading it out. And just imagine it's like you're at a restaurant and you're having your appetizer, and then you have your meal, and then maybe a dessert, but these can be spread out. And it could be the other way around. Some people prefer to start with their meal, and then maybe they'll have a snack or a dessert later. But if you see what I'm saying, it's still one meal, but it's also may have a snack or a dessert, and it's kind of spread out. And so it's not just crammed into that one sitting. And I feel like this is the way that actually works better for most people, because it gives you more time to sort of fit in the nutrients that you need, or just to make sure that you're satisfied and you're not like having to cram it all into one sitting. But I've seen it work both ways for people. So I'm going to kind of talk about maybe some pros and cons to both methods. And so the pros I see to OMAD are that you get to eat every day. It works, I would say, best to work around families, because you are eating with your family every night. You don't have to ever skip dinner. Unless, of course, you choose to have an earlier window, then that's another story. But, a lot of people really enjoy it because they'll go to work and then they'll come home and they'll eat. So they don't have to worry about packing food to go to work, or, anything at work, which I can see definitely the appeal to that, to like take that off of your mind, not having to pack food to work or whatever, just to not worry about it during the day and then eat when you get home. So I can see the appeal there for sure. It also, I feel like, is the easiest way to adapt to, and I'm specifically contrasting this to alternate day fasting. I'm not comparing this to a daily window of like a longer window, like say a 16/8. So, but I would say that OMAD is easier to adapt to different situations. So like if you normally eat around 5 o'clock and you have some social engagement at 8 o'clock, you can pretty easily just push your window a little later, or you could expand it to longer than you normally would. and that's a little bit more easily adaptable. And so I would say that overall, people do prefer OMAD, you know, like the people that I see out there who are longtime fasters, there are a lot of OMADers out there. And I would say that the majority of them are those longer window OMAD people where they're not just eating in one sitting, but, you know, spreading it out a little bit to give that flexibility. But I have seen both be successful. Now, I would say, to me, the downsides to OMAD are that it can be, again, in a small window, there can be a lot of pressure to fit in everything that you want and to feel satisfied and maybe to not overeat in that one sitting. And especially, I think if you're trying to get in a lot of protein, it can be really hard to get a lot of protein into one small window because basically it's just hard to eat a lot of protein in one sitting. It's very satiating, and so, but I will say that I wouldn't automatically assume that that means people are like deteriorating their muscle, because I have seen people who eat and I'm talking particularly about men, but like I've seen men who eat one plate a day and have been doing so for a long time, and they have a lot of muscle. So like a very impressive amount of muscle. And so I'm just saying that, you know, if your protein needs are higher based on your individual body, that it can be difficult to get that in a shorter window. Just putting that out there. And I know for me personally, the reason OMAD was difficult for me was just this anticipation factor, having to wait till later in the day. It always feels to me like once I open my window, I don't experience a very good level of appetite correction, and I tend to like eat a lot of like junky foods. I started just like think about all the stuff that I've wanted throughout the day, and I just start to like overeat more in that window. That's just the observations that I have felt, that I don't eat as well when I'm trying to eat in a small window. And I think it's just also like a feeling of anxiety, like, oh my gosh, I only have this short amount of time. I need to make sure that I'm satisfied and that I get everything I need. And so like, you know, I'll both be trying to cram in like my nutrients, but also like treats, because I want to feel like mentally satisfied. And so it's not the best for me. And I know that a lot of people will also feel the same way. Another thing to mention is that OMAD, especially within a short window, is a lot of fasting. A lot of people think that alternate day fasting is more fasting than OMAD, but it's actually not, because you have a longer eating window with alternate day fasting. And so when you're doing OMAD, especially within like a 1 hour window, if you think about how many hours are in a week, there's 168 hours in a week. So you are basically fasting around 161 hours out of that week. Now, contrast that to how many hours I fast. I fast between 130 to 135 hours a week. And so even though it's spaced out differently and it can work better for people one way or the other, you just should be aware that OMAD can be a lot more fasting, and for some people it is too much. I think especially for women of, you know, younger women who are in their peak reproductive ages, it can be too much. So that's something to consider. All right, now moving on to alternate day fasting. So there are, again, different ways to do this. So the first way is true alternate day fasting. You are fasting one full day, you eat nothing on that day, the next day you eat, and it can be anywhere between a 6 to 12 hour window. It's very flexible, and I highly encourage you, if you're going to do alternate day fasting, to make sure that you are at least eating a 6 hour window, if not more. You want to make sure that you are keeping your metabolism running, you're reassuring your body that food is coming in, and you also want to make sure that you are replenishing all of your nutrients that you have completely missed the day before. So, and then the other way is modified alternate day fasting, where you are in that down day where you're not eating, you actually do have one mini meal that is around 500 calories. It's supposed to be about 25% of your nutritional needs. So that's like a rough estimate. Could be a little more, could be a little less. And I don't count calories. So I don't do this because I don't like to count calories and I never find it satisfying, but a lot of people really love doing this method. So you do eat this little mini meal in a short period of time, like half hour or less. And so it doesn't interfere with your fast as much as if you were to have a longer window and eat more. So that's kind of the theory behind that. It works for a lot of people. Again, does not work for me, but that's okay. Everybody is different. And then the third kind of way, and this can be sort of meshed with the other, with the 500 calorie, is 4-3, which is what I do. So instead of doing alternate pattern, like every day alternating, I have 3 set fasting days in the week. I fast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I always have Saturday and Sunday back to back. Now, some people will have a longer window on both of those days, and some people do like OMAD on the second consecutive eating day. I personally don't do OMAD on that second day, but I usually have a shorter window than the first day. So it'll be anywhere between like 6 to 8 hours. And that's what works for me. I really enjoy it because I have the full weekend to enjoy with my family, and it really just usually works with all of my plans. So kind of the pros of alternate day fasting versus OMAD are that it allows for a full day of eating. So if you enjoy that breakfast experience and that's something that you miss, then that's definitely something you can have with alternate day fasting. And for me, it just sort of takes the pressure off. Like I mentioned before, I don't feel like I have to cram everything into this short window. And I also don't build any hunger on that day. So it's like, I just naturally eat when I'm ready, and then I easily stop eating. For me, usually between 4 and 5 in the afternoon is when I'm just totally satisfied and done. And it just feels a lot more natural to me. For me, the appetite correction with alternate day fasting is amazing. I do feel hungry on my fasting day. I think about food just like any normal person. And if you were to ask me what I would eat the next day on a fasting day, it would be like this huge feast. But once you sleep and you wake up and you just feel this like peace around food, you don't have this strong urge to eat. At least this is how it works for me. I know people do struggle with binge eating on alternate day fasting. I would say that if that's you, you're not really ready for alternate day fasting. It's not the right protocol for you because you shouldn't feel that way. It should be the opposite. And I just feel so much peace around food on my eating days after I've fasted a full day. And my portions, I feel like, are just reasonable portions, and I feel just that satisfaction and the cue to stop when it is time. Another thing with alternate day fasting is that you are getting this long fast, and so it allows your body to go into a deeper healing mode of autophagy. And for some people who are highly insulin resistant, you may be either borderline or type 2 diabetic or have some kind of autoimmune diseases, this protocol can be life-changing. I do believe that I probably had some kind of undiagnosed autoimmune disorder that flares up from time to time. And for me, it was just, it felt so amazing. And just such an answer to prayer, really. And so I would say that it just depends on what your body needs. Some people do not need that deep autophagy, and for some people it can be just truly life-altering. And I think that it's also just a benefit for people who have like kind of an all or nothing personality, who like, you know, it's just nice to not have to think about preparing or eating food one whole day, and then on the day you eat, you don't have to worry about restricting yourself. You know, it's like You have this whole day, you don't have any pressure. It's the all and the nothing, right? And so there's, I would say, the benefits versus OMAD. Now, of course, there are cons, there are drawbacks. Main one being you don't eat every day. Sometimes it can be really hard to alter your schedule. I have definitely found ways to do this. I've talked about it a lot before. I just sort of spread my hours out when I need to change the days of the week that I'm eating. But it can be hard, and it's definitely hard to get through a whole fasting day, especially some days are harder than others. Mentally, it's just a bigger mountain to climb, right? Sleep can be a big adjustment. A lot of people, this is why they choose to do that 500 calorie meal, is because they have a really hard time sleeping during alternate day fasting. And for me, it was only a problem probably in the first couple of weeks. And now I actually think I sleep better when I'm fasting, but I do wake up earlier. But I think that that's a benefit because I get up and get going earlier. And so I actually really enjoy the sleeping aspect of alternate day fasting. And again, that's going to depend on the person. And then also, I feel like for some people, alternate day fasting is just not right for them. Especially, again, younger women, it can be too much. So you really have to watch your cycles. If you're a woman, work around them, see what your body needs and can handle, and try not to push it too hard. If you are feeling that urge to binge during your eating window, I would say that it's probably not the right protocol for you, especially if that's persisting past the adjustment phase. The adjustment phase, the first couple of weeks, is going to be wonky. You know, you're going to have craziness and bad sleep and all of that. But past that point, it shouldn't feel that way anymore. So I hope that helps you just to sort of compare and contrast. And you also don't have to choose one or the other. You can do a hybrid approach and kind of do a little bit of both. So let me know what you like to do in the comments. And yeah, I hope you're doing well. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.